Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews, and boy, it's a big one. Plus, we've got some graphic novels or reprints that have came in this week. I will show those off first. We're gonna go through quickly. I believe Tuesday. It was either Monday or Tuesday, was Jack Kirby's birthday. Everybody always celebrates it. Anybody in the comic community always, celebrates Kirby because, he's the king. A lot of, especially modern comics are derived from the great Jack Kirby. So I thought I'd put some in here. So we have the Commandy Challenge, which was actually done by DC. So what it was a 12-issue series, and it was... so they put everybody who worked on it, their name in a hat, and then they drew them out, and then they put a writer with an artist, and they would come up with a story and leave a cliffhanger, and the next person would get the cliffhanger and try to take the story from there. So each issue was really strange and wild, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of great creators. It was really good. Then we're gonna Pride of Baghdad, which is written by Brian K. Vaughan. With artwork by Nico Henriksen. It's just gorgeous. It's about animals that are in the Baghdad Zoo during the war in the invasion of Baghdad. It's really good. And then Cody, let me fix that so you can see it. You can kind of see it. Cody is a story about a bear and a girl and their kind of adventure together. It's really a gorgeous looking book, and the story is really a lot of fun. And then I'm going to move left and right because the covers are the same. But what those are the Absolute Fourth World Absolute editions from DC. It contains all of Kirby's Fourth World work that he did, and it's in chronological order. So, because it would be, say, in Superman pal Jimmy Olsen, then it would go to Mr. Miracle, then it would go to New Gods, or Forever People. And so they chronologically, because he was working on like 4 books at a time. It also includes the wrap-up story, the Hunger Dogs graphic novel, which he did much, much later. And there's a lot of stories about that. It has, behind the scenes stuff. They're really great books. I believe, unfortunately, they're out of print, but if you can find them and find them for a decent price, for any Kirby fan, they're definitely worthwhile. So as far as the new graphic novels or hardcovers this week, we have Den, the first volume remastered, by the great Richard Corbin. A lot of people know Den from Heavy Metal, because it was one of the sequences in the Heavy Metal movie. So a lot of people know from that, and it honestly, rereading again and knowing the movie, the adaption's actually pretty decent. Sure, there are some changes, but a lot of what is in the original story is in the movie. So this one's gonna be heavy. So we have the Phantom Stranger omnibus with a great Neil Adams cover. This covers a lot of ground from his first appearance up to, not recently, I'd say up to about the 80s, pretty 80s and maybe early 90s, but it's a big one. The main reason I got it, I mean, there's a lot of great things, but I'm a huge Jim Aparo fan, and he did a lot of the artwork in the 70s and 80s, and so there's a lot of Jim Aparo artwork. There's a lot of other great artists too. There's Neil Adams. He did a lot of covers for Phantom Stranger. There's even an Alan Moore story that he wrote when he was working at DC. And then finally, we have this volume 2 of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors. This reprints the Bongo comics, and what's really neat about these is there's a die cut cover, so you see the cover underneath, and then the die cut cover. Each one of these. There's one more volume of this coming out. They're from Abrams Comics Arts. So that's the second of the third volume. I don't know. I don't think they've announced the third volume, but they are going to do it. So that's this week's. So with that out of the way, there's still a lot of books. So we're going to try to go through these as much as possible. There's a couple that are big stuff. We're going to start off with The Devil's Cut. It's a one-shot from a new publisher, Distillery. So there's multiple short stories in here. So there's Spectrograph by James Tinian IV and Christian Ward. There's Shepherd by Mark Bernardin, with artwork by Ariel Christina. 8 rules to make it out in one piece, written and drawn by Elsa Chartier. What Mine is Hers, written by Stephanie Phillips with artwork by Joelle Jones. A Blessed Day, written and drawn by Mirka and Dolfo. The Stowaway, written and drawn by Jock. Deleted Scene number 2, written by Brian Azzilio and with artwork by Eduardo Risso. White Boat, written by Scott Snyder with artwork by Francisco Francavilla. What happened next is written and drawn by Jamie McKelvey. Waiting to Die, written by Ram V with artwork by Lee Garbett. What Brided Flame Burns in the written by Becky Cloonan and Tallulah Lote with artwork by Becky Cloonan and Tallulah Lote. Yes, there's a lot. They're all short stories. So a lot of these are, they're short stories, but they're also kind of previews of these stories that are going to be done for Distillery. Now, they're going to be 48 pages, magazine, like that oversized, like DC Black Label books. So we'll go through these really quick. The Spectrograph is kind of a haunted house story about a guy who's hired to go to this rich guy's house, and there's supposedly ghosts there. It was really a neat story. The artwork, I'm a big fan of Christian Ward's. It was in there. It was a good short story. Most of these are like 8-10 pages, so they're pretty short. It was a good little kind of setup to what they're going to do. The Shepherd is basically about a guy who creates this AI robot because people are traveling through space and pirates come in and take him. So he's kind of created this AI guard to go onto the ships. That was interesting, and the art was really nice. Probably my favorite, not that it was, the other ones are bad or anything, but really one of my favorites is The 8 Rules by Elsa Chartier. It's basically about this as a female assassin that goes to this island to kill this guy. And it's got a ton of action. It's really funny. I'm a big fan of her artwork from Love Everlasting with her and Tom King. This was really good. This one was a real blast to read. A Blessed Day was really interesting by Andolfo. It's about this almost like monster, whatever, who is a priest, and he every day he kind of becomes human. I don't really want to give the twist away, but it was quite interesting. And of course, I'm a big fan of her artwork, so that one was really good. Stowaway was interesting because that one's it's written and drawn by Jock, and that one's going to be the first one to go to series, or the first series to come out. It's about a girl who is living on the streets, and so she boards this ship. I guess you could say it's like military ship or a rich person ship to steal foods to survive. So it's a really interesting story. I mean, we all know that Jock's a really great artist, but I really like this story, and it was kind of a standalone story. So it'll be interesting to see how that fits into the series. Deleted Scene number 2 is about these like cowboy raiders who attack. They kill these cowboys, and it's very interesting because it really is a deleted scene. it in a weird way, it kind of doesn't make sense because obviously there's a bigger story. But it was intriguing. Like, I didn't quite understand what it was trying to do, but I did like it. And of course, Russo's artwork is really, really nice. White Boat's is another horror story where this guy gets invited to this huge boat. Nobody knows who owns it, whether it's rich or a corporation, and it becomes like this maze. He gets trapped on this boat, and like I said, I don't want to give away anymore. It was really great, and of course, I'm a big Francisco Francavilla. His artwork is really great, and he's really perfect for horror stories. Then what happens next? Let's see. There's so many. Is Jamie McKelvey. Let me look. What happens next? Oh, okay. That's the Endless City. Okay, we're in the Endless City. There's these anomalies happening in the city where there's, kind of like these portals that open up and make things appear, and so scientists is trying to figure it out, and that's really what that is. Then we have waiting to die. Is this couple? There's this giant solar flare that's going to come, and it may destroy the Earth. It may just screw everything up. But it's about this couple, kind of the hours before this happens. It's very intriguing. I'm a huge fan of Ram V. I really like this, and Garbet's artwork's really, really nice. And then the final one, What Brightest Flame Burns in Thee, it's really interesting because it's written by Becky Cloonan and Tallulah Lote, and the artwork is done like kind of separately. The story continues, but it's the two different styles, which actually really works in the story because what it is, it's about this woman who's accused to be a witch. And, so Becky handles that part. And then when she gets put into prison, Tula handles that part. And it's kind of about this guy who does like a friend that doesn't believe she's a witch, and it wants to help her get out of prison. So it's really interesting. That's going to be the second series to go to series after Jock's Gone series. That one is Somana is going to be the series by Cloonan and Lotte. I really, really like this book. I was fortunate enough to pick up the special edition of this. It's the same book at Comic-Con from Distillery. It was really interesting. They had a lot of the creators there. It was really interesting. I got to talk to Jock about his story really quick, and it's really intriguing. And of course, I also got to talk to Becky about hers, and I'm really glad to see that she's doing artwork. She's been doing a lot of writing lately. I'm very excited about all these books, and the neat thing about this company, Distillery, is the creators are also part of the company. So it's like so the more successful the books are, everybody benefits, not just the company. The kind of the employees are the company too. So the creators have a huge investment of making these books as good as they possibly can. So this is a great lineup, and just for this alone, I really recommend this book. It's really absolutely wonderful. There's a bunch of different covers, but for me, it's for $10, this is a steal because these are all really great stories and great artwork. So definitely worth picking up. Next we have Nort's Swimsuit Edition one shot. So there's two stories in here. There's Baywatch, written by Julie and Shauna Benson with artwork by Megan Hetrick. And then there's a reprint from a previous special out there written by Steve Orlando with pencils by Paul Peltier and inks by Norm Rapmund. So the Huntress, or the Baywatch, is a story about, so it's got Huntress, Vixen, Black Canary, Batgirl, Poison Ivy. They're at Gotham Beach. and Penguin's going to blow up the oil pipeline, so they have to go and stop him and everything. And of course, they're all in swimsuits, so it's a fun little story. The artwork's really nice. The main thing about this book is that it has a lot of pinups of because DC did swimsuit covers and stuff, so it reprints a lot of those. The second story, which I had not read in the previous issue, so I think it's going to be new to a lot of people. It has Apollo and Midnighter going to this it's a prison transport ship where Malala the gorilla is trying to get to the brain because that's who he's in love with. They're in love with each other. And so it's really actually a very touching story in some respects. It's got a lot of action, but it's very touching. Peltier's artwork is always really nice. But the interesting thing about this, each issue comes with a centerfold. There's 3 different centerfolds, and they're kind of randomly inserted. So there's a Jen Bartel one, a Simon Bisley, and George Jimenez. So if you look through the book, there's different ones. I know Jen Bartel did Poison Ivy, and Simon Bisley did Nort. I'm not sure what Jimenez did because I'm not sure. I haven't seen that one yet, but it's not bad. I mean, it's what's the price on this? It's $6. It's nice to see a lot of those covers because a lot of those covers were variants. Some of them were actually one in whatever variant. So it's kind of nice to have those. It's a fun little book. Like I said, there's only 2 stories, so kind of your mileage is going to vary whether it's something it's going to appeal to you. But I thought both stories were quite good, and the fold out, I got the Poison Ivy one. It's really, really nice by Jim Bartel. So I liked it for what it was. Next up, we have Blade #1 and Blade #2. So it's written by Brian Hill with artwork by Elena Casagrande. So this is the final book that I missed from the week of Comic-Con. So we're doing double dipping. We're going to review both issues. So basically what it is that Blade is tricked into helping this girl Dana because vampires are following her, and then there's this samurai that comes and tries to kill her, and then we find out that this whole thing has been a setup for Blade to actually kill the samurai that needed to kill her because she's actually like this demon that's possessed. And so that's what happens in the first issue. The second issue continues that, where Blade goes to Tulip. She's an arms dealer that they have kind of this, friends with benefits, we shall say. So he needs some, weapons. She has not just regular guns. She has, weird guns. And so he goes to her to get some guns to try to stop this a Dana, demon. And so along the way, there's Ratha, who was part of that samurai clan. She is sent to try to fix this. And, she's now kind of working with Blade, but they kind of have a weird relationship. First and foremost, I do like that Hill, it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's a hard R or anything, but they don't pull the punches with, the head's getting cut off, and Blade, at the beginning of the first issue, he kills vampires left and right. So they're not really shying away. They're it's definitely Blade. Casagrande's artwork is really, really nice. It's a really good looking book. I actually enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that it blew me away, but it was solid and definitely worth checking out. Next up, we have Riddler Year 1, #6, written by Paul Dano with artwork by Steven Subek. So what this series has been, it's a lead up to the Batman movie, and it's kind of like how he ultimately became the Riddler, that version of the Riddler. And so his whole thing was he discovers that there's a lot of rotten apples in Gotham. So he, once again, you see this in the movie, that he is going after the corrupt people in Gotham in power. And so that's really what the series has been. And it's really interesting because it's, once again, the psychological take of this whole series has been absolutely amazing. And Subek's artwork is really, really gorgeous. This has been a really interesting comic because it takes what we kind of learn from the movie and really expands like his origin. Like I said, Paul Dano has been quite surprising as a writer. It's now this is the 6th issue. It took a little while to come out, but it's been well worth the wait. I know there is a hardcover collection coming, so it's probably going to be difficult to find the first 6 issues. So I would pick up the hardcover when it comes out. It's really good. I was really surprised because I like the Riddler in the movie, but once again, it's so different. It kind of took me a while to warm up to it. But I think what I liked about this, prequel is, it really, kind of opens up the character of, how he came to be, which really wasn't hugely explained in the film. It's just like, he's a villain. And I get that. That's what's nice about this, prequel sort of thing. So I really enjoyed this. Good story, good art, well worth picking up. Next up, we have Local Man Gold one shot. Written and drawn by Tony Fleece and written and drawn by Tim Seeley. They both write the book. Tony Fleece does the main Jack story, and then Seeley draws the kind of image, like superhero backup. So this one is mostly the main story. The backup, definitely read the main story before you read the backup, because the backup really has to do with the team going to the future. So what it is this takes place after the first miniseries, and there is a little catch-up thing. I really recommend, I really like Local Man a lot. You should really read the first, story arc before you read this, but there is a recap, but it'll get you enough to get going on the story. So Jack, after last, the last story, his team comes from the past to the future where he is, and so they have to basically fix the future to fix the past. And what's interesting is that there's this a woman that works at Walmart who is the girl from Love Everlasting. And yes, it's fully kind of licensed and everything. They have to go stop her from falling in love to fix the past. That's the basic premise. And so you have this like 90s superhero team, and in the present, and there's like the chaos. It was a wild story, and it was really a lot of fun. I really enjoy this. I'm really liking what Tony and Tim are doing on this book, and they're coming out with it. There's going to be a new story arc coming after this. So there's this. The trade of the first one is coming out, and then the second story arc will start right after that. So I'm really big fan of Local Man, and this was really a nice kind of special one-shot thing that it's kind of an interim, somewhat of a standalone story, but I think you need to definitely read the first story to kind of get a lot of the little subtle things. And it was really nice with a bunch of like creator-owned characters that kind of pop up in the story. Next up, we have Plot Holes, #1, written and drawn by Sean Murphy. So what this is it's a group of fictional characters that transport into books, and so they have to either fix them because there's basically plot holes, or it's a crappy story. And if they can't fix it, they have to kind of basically delete the book. So what it is when they go into this one book, what kind of happens is normally they just either fix it or delete it. But this one had a problem where these creatures came in and they kind of travel with them. So there's like an anomaly happening, because what it is this, their main, headquarters is a giant library, and it has to keep above a certain percentage or every book will be deleted. So this team, their job is to like make sure that it doesn't, go below a certain percentage. And now there's like this anomaly that is affecting the library, and that's kind of the setup here. And Murphy did a really nice job of, introducing the characters, introducing the premise. It's a lot of exposition, but it didn't feel like heavy or anything. He did like I said, he did a nice job of introducing the characters and everything. I really dug it. I think it's a neat idea. It's a kind of a twist on a, kind of basic premise, but I think he did a really good job here. And of course his art is well worth the price of admission, but the story is actually quite good. So definitely check this out this week. I went for the Walt Simonson cover. I'm a really big fan, and it looks like, each cover might be done, cause the second cover, this was an homage, Simonson's was an homage to Thor. Klaus Jansson's doing the second cover that's an homage to the Punisher. So it's kind of interesting how he's inviting these creators and doing homages to their covers, but with Murphy's characters. So that's kind of interesting. So there's a bunch of covers for each issue, so definitely check it out. But I definitely worth picking up this week. I did like it. Next up, we have Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant, #1, written by Iman Vellani and Sibor Prezada, with artwork by Carlos Gomez and Adam Gorin. Now, so what this is so Iman, actually, she's the girl who played Kamala in the Disney Plus series, and she's going to be in the Marvels book. So she co-wrote this story. She's actually a huge comic fan. She's always been a big fan of Ms. Marvel. She really loved the original G. Willow Wilson version of her Ms. Marvel, and so it was interesting seeing her actually writing the comic, which was kind of neat. But basically what has happened, apparently, and I did not know this, but there's a, previously on Ms. Marvel, she was in this war, she died, the Krakoa scientist brought her back, now she's a mutant, and she's basically working with them. She's going to the Empire State University because there's something kind of going on at the university, and the mutants know that something's going on. Plus, there's also the anti-mutant thing going on in basically the Marvel universe right now. So it was kind of like it was an okay first issue. I mean, it does set things up, which is nice. Like I said, I don't know that she needs to be a mutant, but whatever. It's just hard for me because I was such a fan of the G. Willow Wilson that that one's hard to kind of let go. Now, in a lot of ways, the character hasn't changed too much becoming a mutant. She's got the same power. She's just now a mutant, which to me doesn't make any sense, but that seems to be what they're going to go with. It's an okay start. I think this is going to be one of those things. I think the next issue or two is going to be the key to kind of where the story is going, because it is, does kind of set up because she's a mutant now. The artwork's actually nice. I would say it's kind of worth checking out, especially with, if you're a fan of the Kamala Khan version of Ms. Marvel. I think this is a pretty decent, I will give it that it's a good starting point for readers that want to start a Ms. Marvel comic. Like I said, the mutant thing I'm not sold on, but as Ms. Marvel character, it does hits all the points of her character, and in that sense, it's good for new readers. It makes it friendly for new readers, so that's always a plus. Next up, we have Conan the Barbarian, #2, written by Jim Zub, with artwork by Rob De La Torre. So they, in the first issue, the village that he's at gets attacked by the army of the Lost. So there's a woman that came, Brissa, that she came into town kind of warning them. And so her and Conan are following them back to find out what's going on, instead of to try to find out why, what's causing the dead to come back to life, basically. So that's really what's going on in the second issue. It just really is a nice job of building from the first issue. The biggest win for this book is it feels like Conan, and that's really the key. I know the Marvel books were good, but I have to admit, I'm pretty impressed with at least the first couple issues of this. Zub's doing a really nice job. I think it really feels like kind of classic Conan instead of, I think the smart thing that Zub is doing, he's not trying to reinvent the wheel here. And that is really smart. It's just kind of classic Conan. Then you have Del Torre's artwork, which is really nice. It's a really good looking book. I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm not necessarily the hugest Conan fan, so if you can convince me to like a Conan book, I think you've done a really good job. So it's still worth checking out. Next up, we have The Hunger and the Dusk, #2, written by G. Willow Wilson, with artwork by Chris Wildgoose. Once again, as I kind of said with the first issue, if it's very kind of Dungeons and Dragons in some respects. So you have the humans and the orcs are now working together because there's, kind of an invading villains, the Vangal. Basically the orcs are, great warriors and stuff, but they're even kind of getting kicked in the butt with these guys. So they've teamed up. So there's Callum, who's kind of the leader of the human team there. And then there's Tara. She's an orc healer. So they're going to, kind of find out or try to, stop the Vangals, kind of, and along the way they get attacked. It doesn't get and so it's just really building on that first issue with their journey. And I really kind of dig this book. I think the thing is that Wilson does a really nice job of the characters, and that's kind of the key, is you're feeling it, and she does a really nice job. The first issue was set up. This issue, she really introduces like the humans. You get to know them a little bit, which is a big plus. It really just is a nice build on that first issue, which is really what you want in a second issue. Wild Goose's artwork is really nice. It's a really good looking book. If you're looking for a good fantasy book, this is definitely well worth checking out. I'm really digging this book. Next up, we have Marvel Age 1000. So it's written and drawn by multiple people, so we're going to go through this. So we'll go the story and then the creators. So we have Machine Learning, written by Mark Waid, with artwork by Alessandro Cupacino. Sunday Dinner, written and penciled by Ryan Stegman, with inks by J.P. Mayer. People Wonder Why by Rainbow Rao, with artwork by Marguerite Savage. Earth's Greatest Weapon, written by Dan Slott, with artwork by Michael Allred. Overlord, written by Armando Iannucci, with artwork by Adam Kubert. Deaf Heaven, written and drawn by Steve McNiven. The Girl That Hates Superheroes, written by Jason Aaron, with artwork by Pepe Lazar. And the final story, Observations from the Backyard, written by Michael Michael Straczynski, with artwork by Kari Andrews. So this is another one, like I think last year they did Amazing Fantasy 1000, which was all Spider-Man story. Excuse me. So, it's kind of a cross section of like what I really liked about this story, or, about most all these stories, is they're not kind of superhero stories in a way. They're all kind of really human drama stories, which is really intriguing. And for me, kind of outside the box for Marvel in some respects. So we'll kind of go through each one of them. So the Machine one is a story about the original Human Torch, about how he is, taught to be a superhero. And then, because he's basically like Pinocchio, and his creators like Geppetto. And at a point, the Geppetto, father's like, well, I created you to not only help, but to earn money. And And the Human Torch is like, well, that doesn't seem right. So it's a really interesting story. I mean, I'm a big fan of Mark Waid. He did a really nice job, and Cupertino's artwork's really, really nice. It kind of has a mimic to Alex Ross, which kind of goes back to the Marvels miniseries back in the day. It was it was really a really good story and really nice artwork. The Sunday Dinner is kind of a great humor story. It's basically about Peter, who's always late for everything. He's trying to make it to Sunday dinner with Aunt May and everybody else, but he has to stop the lizard. And so the funny thing is, he's him and the lizard are fighting, and he's also texting at the same time. So we learn that maybe texting in superheroes, like texting with driving, not a good thing. Stigman, the story is really good and the artwork's really nice. The People Wonder Why by Rao and Savage is really one of my favorites. It's about basically Marvel Girl. It's the early X-Men. And she's the only woman, and so the boys have each other. They kind of do the boy stuff, and they're playing basketball, and she always seems to get left out. Also, it really builds on the relationship of her and Scott, where in the sense of Scott is totally smitten with her, and she kind of gets it, but she's just trying to like find her way in the team whilst being the only woman. And it just really, actually, a very touching story in a lot of levels. I'm a big fan of Savage's art, so it's really, really nice looking. The Earth's Greatest Weapon is this is the team who did the Silver Surfer book for quite a while. It's about the original Captain Marvel. And he is, he's in Earth, and they get word that Earth is launching this, what they think is actually a weapon into space, and so he has to kind of stop it. And I really don't want to give it away, but it's one of those things are not what they seem stories, and it's really good. The ending is really quite beautiful. I mean, you had me at Michael Allred. That was a great, he's just a great artist, but it was really a good and touching story. Then we have The Overlord, which is Daredevil. He gets tinnitus, which is you get that ringing in your ear, and for him, not only does he get the ringing in his ear, everything becomes super loud because all of his senses are heightened. It was quite an interesting story, and the artwork was really nice. It was a good, solid story, and it was kind of a human Daredevil story, which was nice. Deaf Heaven is really kind of a very heartfelt. It's about the Silver Surfer, where they don't mention particularly say which war. Will kind of say it's World War II for the sake of the story, and Silver Surfer, it's kind of. He's in touch with his feelings about how awful war is. And, Mephisto comes and, he's like, I love death. Death was great. Great for me. And the Silver Surfer, Mephisto says, humans are always going to, destroy themselves. And, the Silver Surfer, is saying, things are not what they seem. The humans can be better than sometimes they are. So that was really a good story. The artwork by Ming Niven is really good. The Girl Who Hates Superheroes was quite interesting. It's about a girl who lives in New York, and for her, she's like, I'm an orphan. My mom died. The superheroes didn't save her, so I hate superheroes because everybody else is like, she's working, like 2 jobs and going to school, and everybody else is looking out the window, and she's just trying to get through the day, And so she ends up in an alleyway, and, there's an event that happens, and Jane Foster Thor, basically saves her, and it basically sheds new light on her and the superheroes. It's not, she doesn't necessarily fall in love with them, but she has a different, opinion of them now. It's a really good story, and I really like how they put the Jane Foster into the story. And the last story, Observations, is about these kids in the backyard who are, they're kind of bullied at they're bullied at school because they're nerds and they're geeks, but they see the world differently. They see like the stories of the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and stuff like that. And I'm not going to give away the ending, but I will say this is a great tribute to the original creators of Spider-Man, X-Men, and Thor, and the Avengers, and all that stuff. Like I said, it really was a great story. Straczynski really nailed it. It's one of his best stories, and Kari Andrews' artwork is just perfect, absolutely perfect. I have to admit, most of the time these specials have been kind of hit and miss. This is really all of them fired on it. It's wonderful. The stories are great. The artwork is fabulous. It is well worth $10, so definitely check that out. Next up, we have Black Hammer: The End, #1, written by Jeff Lemire, and with artwork by Malchi Ward. So what this takes place after the Reborn series, and once again, you really need to read a lot of the previous stuff to go into this. This is not a good jumping on point for new readers. You should be reading Black Hammer anyways. But this now, initially Lemire had said it would be the final story, but he has now said that he does have more stories, that there may be more stories in the future from the Black Hammer universe, but this current incarnation, this will be the last story. That doesn't mean the characters are all going to die or everything, but this will wrap up the stories that he's been telling up to this point. So there probably will be more Black Hammer in the future, maybe not for a little while, but I wanted to get that out of the way. So basically what it is that Space Skulldigger, Wonky and the captain are going through to different Earths to try to get a team to go against the anti-god. So that's going on, and then there's the farm. Once again, I kind of don't want to give anything away because, first of all, you need to read the previous stuff. But as you all know, I'm a big Lemire fan. I'm an even bigger Black Hammer. I'm very excited for this kind of final story that has been going on for a number of years now. And it's a really good setup. Like I said, you really have to have been reading this to kind of get all the characters and stuff. But it's off to a great start. Ward's artwork's actually quite nice. It's really good. But like I said, it's definitely not for new readers. There's trades of all the other stuff. Definitely, go and pick those up. But if you're a Black Hammer fan, do not miss this. This is really good stuff. Next up, we have Batman, Catwoman, the Gotham War Battle Lines #1, written by Tinny Howard and Chip Zdarsky, with pencils by Mike Hawthorne and inks by Andre D. Bedetto. So this is another mini event. It's going to take place in Catwoman and the I believe the Batman books, and I think maybe Detective. I'm not sure. So what it is Catwoman has basically convinced a lot of the goons to stop working for, like the Joker, Mr. Freeze, and the Penguin and stuff, because once of all, they're basically disposable. They don't care about them. And so she's training them to basically be like Robin Hood, to steal from the rich and, give to the poor. So not only will they benefit, but part of the proceeds that they get from that will go to charities in Gotham. So Selina's, basically kind of the Robin Hood, and she's gathering a gang. That's the basic setup here. Well, Batman, after, losing his hand and, having a nightmare, is not keen on the whole thing. So, Selina gathers the Bat family to tell them what she's doing. And most of them are not quite sure whether it's a good or bad thing. I mean, it's kind of a bad thing because they're still stealing from people, but crime is way down. The normal, like muggings and stuff just are not happening in Gotham. So Batman's kind of like, well, crime's down, but this is still not good. And yet some of the members, who I will not mention, are not are kind of sold on Selena's idea. So, it was interesting. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I'm still not a big, events kind of person. We'll kind of see where it goes. I thought it was pretty decent. I actually did like it. Tinian Zdarsky, did a pretty good job of, it's a good setup and everything. Hawthorne's artwork's nice. I think it's just going to be the one, is an event I'm really going to stick with. Because for me, the Night Terrors kind of just pretty much fizzed out. I still think that maybe should have not been a company-wide event. But this is predominantly staying in the Bat books, so it's kind of like if you want to read it and you're into the Bat books, then kind of follow it. It doesn't look like a huge commitment, so we'll kind of see. But like I said, I think the kickoff was pretty decent. I was pretty surprised that I liked it, as much as I did. It didn't blow me away, but it had a good idea. Next up, we have The Incredible Hulk #3. Written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with artwork by Nick Klein. So this book's running a little late, but this is okay. So Johnson has basically turned the Hulk into a horror book, which is perfect. And so the last issue, they went to, this church of kind of the undead of the townspeople are basically, worshiping their god, this god. So that's what kind of happened last issue. So the Hulk Banner has finally unleashed the Hulk. And so they end up going, the church collapses and we find out that their god is like this monster under under the earth. And, so Hulk, basically, beats it up. And then Charlie, the girl that's been, following Banner, initially the Hulk just tells her to go away because she's friends with Banner. So they're, it looks like they're going to be, now the Hulk is in control, but he's going to let Charlie go with him. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But I'm really digging this book. I like what Johnson's doing. Klein's artwork's it's a gorgeous looking book. I like the horror angle that they're going with. So definitely check this out. It's really good. Next up, we have World Tree #5, written by James Tinian IV with artwork by Fernando Blanco. So, so what this is, Gabriel's sister, we find out she's kind of like, the undernet in kind of human form. The undernet has taken control of her and she's kind of spreading this undernet, disease. And so what it is we're kind of coming to the pinnacle where part of the story takes place in the future where the underworld is kind of destroyed the earth and really taken it over. So there's kind of this dystopian future. And so Gabriel basically shuts down the internet because the undernet, the World Tree, is infecting people and they start killing everybody. And so it's really, after last month's twist of finding out about, Gabriel's sister, this issue really ramps up what kind of he's been building, that Tinian's been building up in the story. And it's really interesting. I'm really digging this. I like the fact that it's kind of a slow burn book. It's been really intriguing, and like I said, the last issue really changed the game, and this issue really builds on that change. So, Blanco's artwork's really nice. It's I'm really digging it. You should be checking this book out. And then finally, we have the facsimile edition of the Giant Size X-Men #1, written by Len Wein and Dave Cockrum. They co-wrote the book. Len did the script, and then Dave did the artwork. It includes all the original ads and everything. It's, this book is super expensive to, own the original version. And yes, it's been reprinted many times. But what's neat about this facsimile edition, it includes all the original ads and everything. Sometimes, the reproduction, because the original was printed on newsprint. At that point, it was like toilet paper of the day. So sometimes, the colors can be a little strange and a little bright, but ultimately it's neat to be able to just kind of read it the way that people read it. I remember picking this book up on the newsstand, when it came out, and I read it till the cover fell off. And yes, sure, it's worth a lot of money, but as a kid, that was a great big book for me, and it was a big book for a lot of people, and people also tend to forget it was Len who created the new X-Men. It was Len only stayed on for a couple more issues. Then Chris Claremont took it. Him and John Byrne came onto the book after Dave left the book. Chris worked with Dave, and then he left the book to do some other stuff. And it's really a great peek into history, and also seeing all the ads is always a blast too. That's going to do it this week. Yes, it's been a long one, but there's a lot of books to cover this week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics Long Beach. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. There's Annie, there's Wendy, there's Derek. It's a great store, great customers. If you're ever in the Long Beach area, definitely check it out. They offer discounts on. They have a pull service, so you don't miss any books. They offer discounts on trades and graphic novels. It's a really great comic store. So definitely check it out. And like I said, Ryan's a great guy. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other, and be kind to yourself. Things are tough. I get it. But being kind to others it just doesn't cost anything. It's just do the little things in life. It'll make you feel better, and definitely be kind to yourself. That's very important, of taking care of yourself. Like I said, even just like reading comics and just forgetting about things for a few hours. It's definitely good for you, and it'll help you. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for sticking with me. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comments are greatly appreciated. And we'll be back again next week. This has been a long one, so we're going to just cut it off. Thanks for watching. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. We'll see you again next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.